Why does it hurt so much when you ask yourself who you really are? Why does that simple question, Ben Kimim, who am I, cut deeper than any wound you can see? You feel the fear rising, don't you? The terror that maybe you will discover nothing inside, or worse, that you will find something so broken that even God cannot use it. The question echoes in the hollow places of your chest, reverberating through every memory of failure, every moment you felt inadequate, every time you looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back. You have spent so long building walls around this question, distracting yourself with busyness and noise and the endless demands of daily life, but now those walls are crumbling and you cannot look away anymore. But what if I told you that this very pain, this ache that comes when you turn inward and ask that question, is not a curse, but a sign that heaven is reaching for you right now? What if the breaking you feel is not destruction, but the first breath of true creation? You are sitting alone. Maybe there is a cup of tea growing cold in your hands. Maybe you can feel the weight of the ceramic against your palm, the last trace of warmth fading just like the certainty you once had about yourself. The steam has long since disappeared into the air, and you did not even notice when it stopped rising. You stare at that cup and you wonder when everything became so unclear. When did the person you thought you were begin to dissolve? Was it gradual, a slow erosion like water wearing away stone? Or did it happen all at once in a moment of crisis that shattered your sense of self? The room is quiet, but inside you there is noise, endless noise. Voices asking who you are and why you are here, and whether any of it matters at all. Some of those voices sound like people from your past, others sound like your own voice turned cruel and critical, and still others seem to come from nowhere, from the void itself. You know this moment. You have lived it more than once. You have sat in this exact silence, holding this exact question, feeling this exact weight pressing down on your shoulders until you thought you might collapse under it. This is not random. This pain when you ask who you are is not a sign that you are lost. It is a sign that you are being found. The question burns because your soul is waking up. For years you moved through life with a name, a role, a list of things you were supposed to be, and you believed that was enough. You were someone's child, someone's friend, someone's employee or partner or parent, and those labels felt solid. They gave you something to hold on to when everything else felt uncertain. But God does not call you by your role. God does not see you as the world sees you. God sees past every title, every accomplishment, every failure, every mask you have ever worn to protect yourself from being truly seen. And now, in this moment of your life, the veil is thinning. You are being invited to step past every false identity you have ever worn and to meet the truth of who you are in the eyes of heaven. That is why it hurts. You are shedding skin you thought was your own. You are discovering that so much of what you called yourself was borrowed, inherited, imposed from outside, and now you must stand naked before the divine and allow yourself to be named by love itself. Saint Seraphina knew this agony. She walked through years of darkness asking the same question, and she wrote these words: "The soul that dares to ask, 'Who am I?' must be ready to die 1,000 small deaths before it hears the answer." She understood that the question is not intellectual. It is not something you can solve with logic or philosophy or by reading the right books. It is a crucible. It is fire. When you ask who you are with sincerity, you are asking God to strip away everything that is not true. And that stripping, that unveiling, it feels like death because in many ways it is. The false self must die so the true self can breathe. Seraphina spent years in a cell, not as punishment but as sanctuary, and in that solitude she faced every illusion she had ever believed about herself. She faced her pride, her fear, her desperate need to be seen as holy when inside she felt anything but. She wept, she raged, she begged God to give her back the comfortable ignorance she had known before. But God was merciful enough to refuse. God loved her too much to let her remain in the prison of false identity. And slowly, painfully, through years of sitting with the question, she began to hear the answer, not in words, not in visions, but in a quiet knowing that rose from the deepest part of her being. She began to understand that she was not what she did or what others thought of her, or even what she thought of herself. She was loved. That was her identity. That was the truth beneath all the layers of lies. What is happening in the unseen realm when you feel this pain? Angels gather close. They do not hover in distant clouds, detached and serene. They press near to you, so near you might mistake their presence for your own heartbeat. When you ask, "Who am I?" and the question sends a wave of sorrow through your chest, it is because your soul is reaching beyond the material world. It is reaching toward the eternal, and that reach creates friction. The soul was not made for the shallow waters of superficial existence. It was made for the depths, for the place where heaven and earth touch. And when it begins to move toward its true home, there is a stretching, a tearing away from all that has held it captive. Grace is pouring into the cracks of your identity, into every place where you have believed a lie about yourself. And grace does not enter gently. It enters like light into a dark room, exposing everything. The dust you never noticed, the cobwebs in the corners, the stains you have been ignoring for years. The angels watch this moment with awe because they know what you do not yet see. You are being prepared for something far greater than comfort. You are being prepared for union with the divine. They see the blueprint of who you are becoming, and they rejoice even as you weep, because they know that every tear is washing away another layer of falsehood. They know that the pain is not pointless, it is purposeful, it is sacred. You might think this pain disqualifies you. You might believe that someone who is truly chosen would feel peace, not this piercing confusion. You look at others who seem so certain, so confident in their faith and their identity, and you wonder what is wrong with you. Why can they walk this path with joy while you stumble through it in darkness? Why does the question that seems to trouble no one else tear you apart from the inside? But listen carefully. Your weakness is not a barrier to God's call. Your weakness is the very reason you were chosen. Heaven does not need your strength. Heaven does not need you to have all the answers or to project confidence or to pretend you know who you are. Heaven needs your openness. It needs the raw, tender place inside you that is willing to ask the question even when the answer terrifies you. That willingness, that courage to stand in the pain and not run from it is what marks you as one who has been touched by the sacred. The prophets were not chosen because they were strong. They were chosen because they were willing to be broken. Moses stuttered. Jeremiah wept. Peter denied. Paul persecuted. And yet God used them all because their weakness created space for divine power to flow through. You are not broken. You are breaking open. There is a difference. Breaking implies an end. Breaking open implies a beginning. But how do you know this pain is from God and not just the exhaustion of being human? How do you discern the difference between a divine unraveling and simple despair? Look at the fruit. When this question rises in you and brings its ache, Does it eventually lead you toward deeper compassion for others? Does it make you more gentle with yourself, more aware of your need for grace? Do you find, even in the confusion, a strange clarity about what truly matters? If the pain leads you to love, even slowly, even through tears, then it is divine. If it leads you only to bitterness and isolation, then it is something else. The touch of God always moves you, eventually, toward more life. It may wound first, yes, but it wounds to heal. It breaks to rebuild. Think about the times when this question has consumed you. Did it make you more selfish or more generous? Did it close your heart, or did it, despite everything, soften you? Did it make you turn away from others, or did it help you understand their suffering because you were finally willing to face your own? These are the signs. These are the marks of divine work. God does not destroy for the sake of destruction. God dismantles what is false so that what is true can finally stand. When the question comes and the pain rises, there is something you can do. Not to escape it, but to consecrate it. Silently, in the privacy of your heart, pray these words. Show me who I am in you. That is all. You do not need elaborate rituals or perfect conditions. You do not need to wait until you feel worthy or ready or spiritually advanced enough. You simply offer the ache back to the one who gave you the question in the first place. You pray it in the car while sitting in traffic, feeling the frustration of being stuck and the deeper frustration of not knowing where you are going in life. You pray it in the middle of the night, when you wake at 3 in the morning with your heart pounding and that familiar dread settling over you like a heavy blanket. You pray it in the seconds before you fall asleep, when your mind is finally quiet enough to hear the whisper of your own soul asking again, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Show me who I am in you. This is not a magic formula. There are no guarantees that the heavens will open and a voice will answer. But the act of praying it changes something in you. It turns the pain from a torment into an offering. It transforms the question from a weapon you use against yourself into a gift you place at the feet of God. You are not doing this alone. Even now, as you struggle with this question, there are holy beings who notice. Saint Seraphina herself, who passed through this same fire, sees you. She intercedes for you. She knows the weight of what you carry because she carried it too. And there are others, countless others in the communion of saints, who watch your journey and whisper prayers on your behalf. You think you are isolated in this pain, but you are surrounded. The cloud of witnesses is real, and they do not look at you with judgment. They look at you with recognition. They remember their own unraveling. They remember the nights they thought they would not survive, the mornings they woke up and did not know how they would face another day of not knowing who they were. They remember the grace that came after. They remember the moment when the pain finally gave way to peace, not because the question was answered, but because they learned to rest in the arms of the one who asked it. And they want that for you. They are cheering you on. They are holding you up when you feel too weak to stand. You are part of a great procession of souls who have walked this path before you, and they have left signs along the way, breadcrumbs of wisdom and encouragement, so that you would know you are not the first to feel this way, and you will not be the last. Every time you choose to sit with the question instead of numbing it, heaven takes note. Every time you refuse to settle for a shallow answer, every time you turn toward God instead of away, it is recorded, not as a debt you must repay, but as a victory that will echo in eternity. You do not see the magnitude of these small acts of faith. You think they are nothing, just you surviving another day. You think no one notices when you choose to pray instead of despair when you choose to be kind to yourself instead of cruel, when you choose to believe that there is meaning in your confusion even when you cannot see it, but in the unseen realm, they are treasures. Each moment you remain open to the question. Each moment you do not harden your heart or bury the ache under distraction. You are choosing love, and that choice is never wasted. It is stored up. It is building something. You are laying stones for a cathedral you cannot yet see, and one day you will stand inside it and marvel at what your faithfulness has created. Are you beginning to see why this pain is not your enemy? Are you beginning to understand that the very thing you feared, the not knowing, the uncertainty about who you are, is the threshold you have been seeking all along? You wanted to know your purpose. You prayed for clarity. You begged God to show you why you are here and what you are meant to do with your life. And now the door has appeared, and yes, it looks like suffering. It looks like the dissolution of everything familiar. But beyond that door is the truest version of yourself, the one that has existed in the mind of God since before the stars were formed. The pain is the passage. The question is the key. You cannot walk through that door carrying all the false identities you have clung to. They will not fit. You must leave them behind. You must let them fall away like old clothes that no longer serve you. And that is what hurts. Not the discovery of who you are, but the release of who you are not.